People always say that you have to have money to make money, and that there's an extraordinary level of sacrifice on the road to success. So how is it that investors like us, who didn't start out with much money and who don't rely on banks and credit, how is it that we can increase our income and build our wealth in a way that doesn't require us replacing one full-time job with another while still enjoying the things in life that matter most to us? That has always been the big question, and this podcast reveals the answers. I am Carrie Lake, and this is the Investor Warrior. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Investor Warrior. Today we have on the show Howie Lake, my partner in crime, and we have James Moore. James, thank you so much for coming onto the show today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the listeners, but guys, we brought James on because he is an attorney. He's a licensed real estate broker. Your office is like all things real estate. You guys do a lot over there. So I think it will be an interesting conversation. So go ahead, James, just introduce yourself and kind of how you got into law and how you built up the practice that you now have today.
Yeah. Thanks, Carrie. So like you said, we have a real estate law firm, a title company. I do have a real estate license that I don't do a lot with, but it exists. And then we also have a hard money lending company that does investor financing for your projects. So we have all those under one roof, similar partners. I started in law because my stepdad had a law firm in real estate, and I was working there after college, and I had to be a lawyer in order to take over the firm. So I figured I had to go to law school. And so
That's a good start.
So I went to FAMU downtown during the night and worked during the day. Took about 3.5 years, passed the bar, and then became a lawyer at the firm. And now it's a Acosta Moore Schrader. So I'm the Moore, my stepdad's the Acosta, and then my best friend from law school actually is the Schrader portion of that. So
Very cool.
We're partners in pretty much all the business, the title, the law, and the hard money lender. So it just kind of fell into it, really. I've always liked real estate. I've done some real estate investing on the side with another partner. We flipped 50, 60 houses, something like that, a few years back. And I couldn't focus on that many different things at once. So I had to let him keep doing his thing. And then we focused in real hard on what we do now, where we service investors, really. We provide them with the legal work they need. We provide them with title. We provide them with financing. Anything we can do to kind of see ourselves as the service support team for people that want to invest in real estate.
Where are you guys located?
Winter Park, right near the Trader Joe's, not far from there.
Yeah. Okay. You make it sound so easy. Just I went to law school, got my law degree, flipped 60 houses, then started servicing investors.
There's more details into each one of those stories, but sure. How much time you got?
So I have a question. Can you do a little breakdown of me? You have different company names, correct?
Yes. Okay.
And you just the Schrader, the Moore, what was it again?
Schrader, Acosta, and Moore.
Acosta Moore Schrader. So that's the law
Acosta
firm.
Moore Schrader. That's the law firm.
Moore Schrader is the law firm. Yes.
Okay. Got it.
And then AMS is the title. AMS title, which is Acosta Moore Schrader initials for the title company.
Easy to remember.
And then Boyd Management's the lender.
Okay, fantastic.
And who is Boyd?
Yeah,
my middle name. It's nothing creative.
I love it.
Hey, but it all ties in.
Yeah.
It all ties in. So, one of the questions that I have is that we as investors, I think we as small business people, we sort of tend to ignore the legal aspect of the business when we set it up. We tend to try to deal with a lot of the issues and the agreements that we have by ourselves because A, I think we're afraid of, the legal world, and B, I think we feel that it's really, really expensive. And I'm guessing that you probably have a pay now or pay later story or two that's out there in the world.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and talk about, well, maybe unravel the fear that some of us have around that whole thing and why it would be important to lean into it more.
Sure. So, one, the like you said, the pay now or pay later issue arises, and it may never come up, but if it does, if a problem does arise, if you have a partnership that goes bad and you didn't properly document it, and it's all written on a napkin somewhere or something like that, it will be more expensive, significantly so, to fix.
Right.
If you don't have these things planned for. Really, it's just when going into business or doing anything, especially when you're doing it with partners. If you're doing it by yourself, you're probably not going to sue yourself. But if you're doing it with any kind of partners, any kind of additional people with you, you just want to have all the eventualities kind of mapped out. So what happens if, what people always think about is, oh, well, I'm never going to fight with my partner. I'm never going to do this with my partner. All right, well, what happens when your partner gets hit by a bus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have a buy-sell agreement in place for your business? Does his spouse, who you hate, take over his interest? And now you guys are butting heads as partners in the business? So what happens there? What happens? You spell out the responsibilities. One of you is responsible for money. One of you is responsible for doing the actual work on a property, or one of you is responsible for raising capital. One of you is responsible for finding deals. Whatever the responsibilities are, the more detail you can put into that, the easier it is if problems arise to go back to the documents and find it out. Now, is this expensive? Not really. If you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you're dealing with hundreds, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate a year.
Yeah.
And a legal document package set up at the beginning might be, between $2,000 and $5,000, give or take, depending on how detailed you want to be. It's really just hourly with an attorney, and we just put the documents together. It's not complicated. It just needs to be spelled out so that you don't have a problem. And if that same $2,000 to $5,000 doesn't get handled up front, and you guys are sitting on $1 million of real estate when it goes bad, then it's going to cost you 40 to 60 grand to fix. So.
Yeah. My favorite response from other investors when I tell them that they need to get something reviewed by an attorney, they were like, I don't want to spend the money. And my response always back to them is, if you don't want to spend money on an attorney, then you shouldn't be in real estate. Like, you shouldn't even be doing the deal if you can't afford an attorney to review something. It's just interesting how many people just decide not to use an attorney sometimes to review things, which in my personal opinion should be reviewed by an attorney.
Yeah. Especially, it doesn't even have to be business formation things.
Sure.
It can be as little as if you want to go buy things from a foreclosure auction.
Yeah.
Have an attorney do a title search and take a look at the property. You might think, oh, I've got this awesome deal, which we've dealt with on several occasions, actually. I've got this great deal. I'm buying a $30,000 tax deed, or I'm $30,000, not tax deed necessarily, but I'm $30,000 auction of a second lien. You don't know it's a second lien. So you buy this awesome $30,000 property, and then you find out, oh, it's got a $150,000 first mortgage that wasn't foreclosed out. So now your $30,000 investment turned into $150,000 overnight, and your numbers might not work anymore. So it just $500 to an attorney could have saved you 30 grand that you're likely going to lose now. We've dealt with that numerous occasions when people just dive in without doing the proper research on a property, and then it stings afterwards.
In that scenario, James, you mentioned $500 to an attorney, ahead of time to stave that off, right? What does that work look like at that point? Because it sounds like in this particular example, we've got some title issues going on, right? We've got some liens going on,
Right.
some lien stuff going on. So what is that $500? What does that entail? Sounds like it's more than just writing up an agreement, right?
Yeah, it's not even an agreement really at all. It's specifically running a title search and then letting you know what's in that title search before you go to a foreclosure auction, for example. At a foreclosure auction, if you if you buy a property at a foreclosure auction and they didn't do the foreclosure correctly, or they didn't include everybody, or they're a second or lien or an HOA or something like that, the first lien might still exist. So the title search will tell us everybody that's got a lien against that property, one. So I can tell you, hey, this guy's foreclosing out on this interest, which is not the first lien interest. Or I can then take that title search and look at the court filings in the foreclosure and say, hey, they didn't include this debt over here that's a lien against the property. So you've got a potential defective foreclosure, or that lien won't get foreclosed out when you close on it, and you'll still owe it when you buy it. It's things like that that can come up, especially in foreclosure auctions or anything where you're not getting clear title potentially. They're always costly mistakes, because it's never a small mistake. It's always, I got a $30,000 or $40,000 deal that I think is a steal on a property that's worth 200 grand. And then you find out there's another 200 grand in liens against the property. And now you've got a $40,000 loss.
Right.
And it stings.
Yeah. It's funny when you said, like, it doesn't seem like there's any small mistakes in real estate sometimes, right? Like everything's at least five.
Never.
Everything's at least 5 digits, if not 6.
There's small
right?
wins.
Single family.
I've had plenty of small wins and nothing but huge losses.
Oh, in your world.
Yeah.
And you guys do quiet title suits too, right?
We do, yes.
Can you explain a little bit? So I know a lot of people don't know or understand what a quiet title suit is. I haven't done one in a long time, so I have some questions too, because I think the last time I did one might have been 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm sure things have changed with the world we live in today and how long it takes and costs and all that. But can you explain what a quiet title suit is and why someone would need it?
Yeah. So basically, a quiet title is you've got an issue with marketable title in some way, shape, or form. The most common we see in the investing world is you bought a tax deed. And the tax deed does give you a tax deed that's good, but it's uninsurable by title insurance. So you can't sell that property until you've done a quiet title. What a quiet title basically does is contacts everybody that has potential ownership in the property or interest in the property, and like it says, quiets out their interest. So the biggest part of a quiet title suit really isn't the court work. It's finding everybody and serving them. So if you had a tax deed that was because somebody died and didn't pay their taxes, but you now own the property, you've got to serve every single possible heir to that estate to quiet out their interest, or wait for 4 years until they will insure it after that. But if you want to sell it quicker, you got to serve them all. So the cost can vary greatly based on how many people you have to serve. 99% of the time, nobody's going to even respond or is going to say anything or fight it. But, they can also show up in court and say, no, this was done incorrectly. The deed foreclosure, the tax deed was done wrong or something like that. That's rare, but it happens. In that
1%, in that 1%, kind of what happens? I mean, can somebody some grandchild come out and say, "Hey, I'm an heir. This belongs to me." I mean, can it go that type of direction? Like the stuff we see on TV.
So the stuff you see on TV is on TV for a reason. It's very, very rare, and it's the sensationalized part of. Is
it even true?
Yeah. What really happens in most cases is the heir isn't entitled to it because the county didn't do the tax deed wrong. They noticed it correctly. They did everything correctly. That's what will most likely happen. In the event that the county didn't properly do the tax deed sale, they didn't notice somebody or they didn't do it, they can get the property back by paying the taxes, etc. In which case, you will likely just get your money back from the county for the defective sale.
Okay.
You may not end up with that property, but that should be the worst thing that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not necessarily as scary as it might sound.
No. When you're buying tax deeds, because a tax deed is a superior lien to basically everything on the property, it does wipe everything out. So as long as it was done correctly on the county level, it's done. A lender can't come back. An heir, nobody can really come back and say it was wrong unless the tax deed sale was actually noticed and done incorrectly.
Yeah. Cool. So basically, guys, so quiet title suit, you would need to do that on anything that you buy at auction. Tax deed sale doesn't come with marketable title, and in order for you to resell that with marketable title and get title insurance, you'd have to do the quiet title suit. Or is it, you said 4 years? You'd have to hold on to it for 4 years?
4 years is generally how long the title insurance underwriters allow you to hold a property from a tax deed sale. And at that point, it will become insurable, and it's no longer a tax deed. It's just a warranty deed, and you can sell it to whoever you want. So if you're a buy and hold person, don't even bother. Just sit there and everything. And no issues should show up. But if you're buying these to flip them, you're going to want to do quiet titles on each of them so that you can make a marketable title.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, the most common use of a tax or of a quiet title in investing is because of that reason. There are plenty other one-off reasons here and there that you would have a quiet title, but it basically just fixes a title's marketability. So if there's a problem with the title, maybe there was a bad transfer of a deed 30 years ago. All right, maybe you have to do a quiet title. And we can handle all of that. Anything that comes up in title searches, we can handle all that at the law firm, obviously, whereas some title companies may not. If they're not a lawyer, they can't handle these issues. When they come up on title, you'll be paying for a closing and you'll be paying for an attorney.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. We bought a house from someone who had bought it at the tax deed sale. He decided he didn't want to renovate it. He just wanted to sell it and make a couple $1,000. And so instead of using our title company, we used an attorney to do it because they could run the title search, do the closing. And then while we were renovating it, they did the quiet title suit. So by the time that we were done with the renovation, we were able to sell it with marketable title to a retail buyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was all done in parallel.
Yeah. It shouldn't take too long unless, again, it becomes difficult to serve people. That's the only time that it should really be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So what is like your, you are involved in so many things. So what's your typical day like? I'm curious.
Well, I spend a lot more of my time dealing with the hard money lender, actually. Most of my legal work is as de facto in-house counsel for the lender. So I'm dealing with whatever's in foreclosure, collections. I'm dealing with documents. We sell through on the back end to various different funds and stuff like that. So I'm dealing with those documents. Underwriting loans, that's always fun. I get the final say, yes or no, on whether we do. Everything seems to have an exception for some reason or another. But
are you guys funding? So you guys are not using any third-party funding source here, or any warehouse?
We fund ourselves and then we sell through on the back end to larger funds. But you'll only ever talk to us. We retain all the servicing rights and everything like that. So we're an originator and a servicer of the loans. So when we do a full service right here in the office, well, not here, this is my house, but at the actual office.
Yeah. And what kind of loans do you do? Is it short-term, long-term, everything in between?
Everything, anything for investment purposes. So these are investment purpose loans, business purpose. And we've got 1 to 2 year bridge loans that are interest only. We've got a ground up construction product with draws and everything. We've got loans as long as 30 years, fixed rate 30-year buy and hold loans. Rates vary based on experience, credit, LTV. We go up and down the credit curve. Basically, the more like a bank you want to be, the better rates we can get you. If you just want to be a true hard money, we have those rates as well, and those lack of documents.
Thus the word hard.
Right. Yeah.
And is this all asset-based lending?
All asset-based, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We give a little bit of credit to your credit score and other things as far as rate, but you qualify for some form of a loan. Everybody qualifies for some loan. Now, what LTV that is and what rate it is going to be based on other factors to some degree, but you'll definitely get a loan.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let me ask you a question. Do you lend based on rental income from short-term rental rates versus long-term rental rates?
We will allow that in our loans, but we don't value a property that way. And here's the big reason why. We value it based on what the appraised value of the property is going to end up being.
Right.
And so if I was to take that property back and I didn't want to run your Airbnb business, or if tomorrow there's some new law came through that said, well, that Airbnb business is actually illegal now, then that property is going to go right back to what it's actually worth and on appraised value. So we'll lend on appraised value or purchase price, whichever is lower. And we'll allow you to do that as a form of income. I know there's some hard money lenders that don't allow short-term rentals as a proper property for them to collateralize, but we'll allow it. We're going to lend on value, not on income-based value, which is difficult.
Yeah.
That's a good subject, especially nowadays. What's the reason that other lenders do not want to allow the short-term rental, especially if they have collateralized it based on its current value as let's say a single-family home, its rental value as a long-term rental. Short-term rental is just going to increase the income. Why would they not want that to happen?
Honestly, I'm unsure because I'm okay with it.
Right.
And the people that I deal with are okay with it. I know some of these lenders are basically they're lending based on what they sell through on the back end, which is Wall Street.
Right.
So if the financiers that have given them money say that this is inappropriate, is a non-qualifying property type, then that just flows down to the investor, and they just won't do it because they're not in the business of doing loans that don't fit the box that they can turn around and sell. Yeah.
Got it. It makes sense. What's going on with rates right now, and how's it affecting you guys' business?
We haven't had to raise rates at all right now from where we were, but obviously hard money rates are already considerably higher than bank rates, although it's getting closer.
Yes, I've seen that.
The Fed is going to continue to raise rates for the foreseeable future. I don't know where they're going to stop, but I imagine it's somewhere between 1.5% and 2% eventually on the Fed rate, which should push regular rates closer to 6%.
Right. And when you say 6, you're talking like a 30-year fixed, good credit.
30-year fixed, because somebody's showing up with their 5% down for their 30-year fixed.
30-year fixed.
At least 5% down. Yeah. That's where rates are probably going over the next 2 years. What that'll do to our hard money rates, we'll adjust. For us, it's pretty simple. It's a factor of what we can sell our loans for on the back end. So as long as I'm still able to make the spread I want to make on the back end sale, then our rates will remain the same. When I start getting back end pressure, then our rates will go up.
Yeah, that's interesting. That actually sounds to me like it's almost good for business for you when the difference between conventional loans and your loans start to look actually like they're closer. It's got to be.
It helps some. It certainly makes it less of an argument. It's difficult to sell a 9% rate loan when you can go to a bank and get 3%. Pending you can actually go to that bank though. So most of our borrowers can't actually get those loans.
Right.
Is there a cap on the amount of loans that one investor can get with you?
Not that we've run into yet.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's a number out there that exists, but it's not anything that we've come close to yet. So
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it might be arbitrary. Like he wants another one. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it depends on how good of a borrower you are. What are you
Sure.
doing with all these loans?
Yep.
You know, does it make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I don't really care if you've got 50 rental properties and I've got a loan on all of them and I've
Sure.
got 15 million with you in debt. You know, all right, well, I guess I have a rental portfolio if you default.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to, but that's not my goal.
Right.
But that's kind of the way we look at it.
Right. Back to the legal part of your business.
Sure.
Tom, what is kind of the most scary situation you've seen someone get themselves into without naming names or that kind of thing?
Well, I'll actually tell you, it's not necessarily the scariest, but it could have been the scariest situation I've run into deals with title, actually, one of the title issues. And it actually happened, we were involved in it as the lender. So we had a title, we did a loan. The title agent did some fraudulent documents. It was really a cash transaction, and he took out a loan on the property himself, but gave us a title insurance policy. So after several years back and forth with the title policy, they end up paying full policy limits. Now I say that's the scariest because I know a lot of investors that ask all the time, well, what do I need what do I need a title policy for? Why do I need title insurance? It's just an expense. It doesn't matter. Why do I need it? Well, because you could look at a total loss situation without that title insurance policy, and that you paid 200 grand for a house through no fault of your own. There could have been fraud and you didn't get a proper title insurance policy. Now you're out 200 grand.
And you're out 200 grand because of what has just happened exactly?
Because they deeded a property that they didn't own.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what happened in this situation. It wasn't deeded; it was lent on, but he took out a loan on a property. It fraudulently did the documents as if he was the borrower, and took out the loan on a property he didn't actually own or have legal ability to write to guarantee that property with.
What was it now?
So that was just a situation of a loan, but there are plenty of scams out there that we deal with all the time, where these people will market a property as if it's for sale. They'll pretend like it's for sale. You'll think you're buying a property, maybe. You'll, especially if you know, maybe they tell you, hey, you can't get in to see it because it's in some kind of specialty default situation. We've all bought a property where we couldn't get in to see it beforehand, right? If you don't have proper title insurance and everything like that, they may not actually be the real owners to that. They might be in league with the title company. So you really want to watch out for getting a title insurance and making sure you have a closing protection letter. Now that closing protection letter, the CPL is what it's called. We do it at the lender side, and we are, rigorous about checking it. You can actually take that letter that you'll get from a title company and go to the actual underwriter, whether it's Old Republic or Fidelity or whomever, and go to their national site, check that letter, and make sure they actually have a file started on you to make sure that you're going to actually get a policy. That's the big one to me because it represents the closest you can come really to a total loss. And that's a scary situation when you're not properly in deed to a property.
And in the case
sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead,
in the case that you were talking about, where a title agent was committing the fraud, what was that title agent's role in the whole thing, and what was the title agent's motivation for doing that?
It's an ongoing case currently in South Florida. I don't going to get into too many of the details of it, but in essence, he was living above his means, and he just needed a way to. He was using his escrow account as basically a personal bank account. So he had to find a way to get more money, and this was the way he did it. So we got a real title policy on it. through the underwriter. So we checked we did that. That's a situation when we did everything we were supposed to do, and still ended up dealing with it for a couple of years. Now we did get paid back. The title insurance company paid full policy limits to us, so we got all our money back. It wasn't the total loss situation, but if we hadn't had title insurance, done. That whole loan gone. 230 grand.
Did you do was there a CPL on that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Closing protection letter. We had it all.
So even still,
we still ended up just getting, our money back. We didn't get some of the interest that we were owed, but.
So you had a lender's title policy.
We had a lender's title policy, but it works the same way. To get an owner's policy, had you bought a property that the person selling it didn't actually have the ability to sell it to you, if you don't have that owner's policy, you don't have somebody to either fix that or pay you your money back. You're just shit out of luck. And lenders' policies and owners' policies are very different.
I was going to ask you if you could explain the difference between the two.
Right. So the easy way to explain it is my policy as a lender does absolutely nothing for you as an owner. It makes sure that my lien is in first lien position, which is where I want to be, and that the proper parties to the property have signed for it. If I collect on a lender's policy, and you decide not to get an owner's policy, and there was a fraudulent transaction like we just discussed where maybe they didn't have the deed to the property to sell to you, I'm going to get all my money back because I have my lender's policy. And if you didn't buy an owner's policy, you're going to get nothing, regardless of my policy at all. So a lender's policy is just it's not for you, basically. Right. It protects the lender.
Not the buyer.
No different than the PMI doesn't protect you. It just reimburses the lender when they foreclose on you.
Right.
And in the case that you were talking about, did the actual buyer, the one that you had lent the money to, were they protected?
I believe so. I believe they had an owner's policy as well. It came to their attention when we served them in foreclosure. So that's when he found out.
That's messy.
In his head, he bought the house cash, so he didn't understand how he was getting foreclosed on. So, but he had. It was an elaborate little scheme he had running there, but and it was rare, but not too rare. There's plenty of those schemes out there.
So the buyer
wire schemes, all kinds of stuff.
The buyer in this case was a victim. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And he didn't know what was happening until you actually started the foreclosure process?
Yes. Yeah. Now, it took the insurance company about a year to actually write off that he was in fact a victim and not in on the scheme.
In on the scheme. So okay.
They did a lot of work. I mean, it's a hassle. It's always going to be a hassle when things go wrong like this, but I would hate to imagine dealing with some of these types of situations, especially when it comes to title transfer and title insurance, without a title insurance policy on my side. It would be a nightmare to think that I've lost 230 grand and I've got to now figure out how to fix it, or if I can, or I'm just writing a $230,000 check and walking away. That's a tough day.
So to recap, with title, you guys are running the title search. I imagine you're doing a lien search as well.
Yes. Yep.
Explain to everyone the differences between title search and lien search. I get this question a lot.
So a title search runs the actual liens that are on the property. So your mortgage, if there's an HOA lien that's already been perfected on there, if there's, tax, IRS debt, something like that, anything that's actually affecting the title. What a lien search, and it's a weird name for it because they're not actually liens, they're municipal code enforcement, for one, will show up on a lien search. So maybe they've got $20,000, $30,000 in code enforcement that's out there. It doesn't show up as a lien on your lien search, but it is going to be an issue when you buy that property. It's going to come with those code enforcement debts that you will have to fix. Now, Most of the time, you can fix the violation and pay a small amount. But it'd be nice to know what that amount's going to be and what the violation is ahead of time. Same thing with utility bills. Depending on the county, the utility bills, even though not in your name as the property owner, they can charge the property depending on what county they're operating in. Some other things that could end up on lien searches, HOAs that haven't been, you're usually going to get an estoppel, so you should be okay with that. But HOAs that haven't actually turned into liens yet could show up on a lien search as well. Basically anything that's possible that's not showing up as a lien that you would just like to know about.
Right.
Code enforcement's the really big one though, because that can be extensive fines, and can really change whether or not you think this project's a viable project or not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We had a house once. I think that I don't remember the exact numbers because it was a little while ago, but I think we had it under contract for like 40,000. And when they went to go do the lien search, there was like, $90,000 worth of code enforcement liens. It was something crazy like that. But
Now
like you said, we were
deal,
able to be proactive, go contact the code enforcement office before closing, get something in writing from them that they were going to reduce it to a couple $1,000 to pay off what they had into it if we were, going to fix the roof and all these things that were wrong with the house that had the violation on it. But I mean, had we not done the lien search, we could have closed on that property and found out later that we had a $90,000 lien on a house that was only worth $100,000 at the end of the day, maybe, so we would have been underwater with that lien and with the code enforcement lien in place.
Yep. So, code enforcement, same with open permits too, show up on municipal lien searches. So, they could have been a roofing permit pulled 15, 20 years ago that's still not closed out. Well, you're either going to have to put a new roof on the property, or when you go to sell it, if you didn't get the lien search up front, the lender for the buyer that's going to buy that property from you is going to do the lien search, and they're going to find that open permit. And then you're going to find out that the only way to close an open roof permit is to either go out there and have an engineer double check that the work was done correctly, and close it out that way. Or if they did it before they got dried in, you're almost going to have to pull a whole new permit and pay the fees and close it out that way.
Right.
It's not usually a big deal if you know about it and you factor it in. It's a very big deal if it's a surprise.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So going back to kind of the recap. So you guys do title search, you do a lien search. You're going to issue the owner's title policy. You're going to issue a lender's title policy. If a lender is placed, you're going to have the CPL, which is like another double layer protection on the title.
Yeah. So the closing protection letter, the CPL, covers you from the closing date until the time the final policy is issued. Usually it covers you for usually a period of 6 months. Now at our title company, we try to have the policies back out in 45 to 60 days to you, or sooner if we can. It's a function of recording. So it takes time after the closing happens to record everything, and then do the paperwork on the policy and get it to you. This CPL covers you from that closing until you receive the final title policy for a period of time. And it's important because you can match up the number on the CPL with the actual underwriter so that you know what your policy number is before the title company, any title company gets you this. This isn't just our title company. Every title company that's legitimate in the state of Florida or just about any state should hand you a CPL at closing, preferably before closing, so you can ensure by a quick double check on the websites of how making sure that you actually have a file open with the underwriter. Do not close a file if you check that number and you can't find it in the system of the actual underwriter, Fidelity or Old Republic or whoever the actual paper is written on, because that's a huge red flag. You're going to want to find some answers to that quickly, because the title company at that point that you're using has not submitted this to the title insurance underwriter yet, since they don't have a file open. So
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And then I assume, so you guys do write up mortgages and notes if a borrower
Sure.
wants that. Mhm.
At the law firm, if you wanted to do some seller financing or something
Yep.
like that, we can help you with the note and mortgage and all that stuff as well.
And then you guys use your own mortgage and note for your lending side.
Yeah, the lending side has a whole document package that we've
Yep.
prepared. So that's completely different than a seller held mortgage will be.
Right.
We have different clauses and everything like that in it, but yeah.
Cool. And then you close
And then we
with an
close.
attorney, where you can ask questions if you need to.
Yes.
Or resolve issues before closing if you need to.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the title company being attached to the law firm is
Right.
if you need a legal question, you can always ask us. If it's simple,
Yeah.
we don't really have a problem just kind of answering it or walking you through it right there. If it's something more complicated, we'll let you know what it's going to cost to get these issues resolved or answers to you.
I would say our biggest title issues have always been with properties going through probate and manufactured homes on land. Those have been our like two biggest title. I always know going in that there could be some stuff.
So the manufactured home on land, I'm assuming it has to do with whether they were properly secured to the land and whether they discharged their DMV titles as well, is one of the big ones on those.
Yeah. Well, and there's always like transfer of title issues with the manufactured homes. And I don't know if that's because people do it themselves a lot of times with the manufactured homes. They'll do like their own deeding.
Yeah. Anytime somebody's done their own deed or Googled Florida deed and filled it out themselves and recorded it themselves, it just means that we're going to do more work at some point. So that's always fun. And manufactured homes, the price point's low enough that they're probably fall into that category of people who do things themselves as opposed to hiring an attorney.
Although with the price of land lately, that hasn't that's starting to change a little.
Yeah. Well, they still probably think they can do it themselves.
There's a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there. I don't think sometimes it doesn't matter what the price is.
Well, it's very DMV-ish, right? It's very DMV-ish.
Yeah. You have two titles with the manufactured home: the DMV title when it's transferred there, and then once it's set on the land, you have regular title, land title. I mean, I had. And it's true to this day. I had a professor in law school who was an adjunct, and he said, as an attorney, you should never be scared of LegalZoom or any of these self-help, because they're basically creating clients that you're going to be able to bill quadruple for to fix all their problems with whatever they've tried to self-help them with. So
So no one's actually ever going to replace an actual attorney.
Not really. No, not if a problem shows up and there's an issue. I mean, you can try to become very fluent in the law, but and there's people that do spend a lot of time learning it, but you're still not doing it every day. You're not seeing every situation. I mean, even before I was an attorney, at this point, I've seen 12 years worth of title issues that have come through our title company. So, and I'm not even close to a highly experienced attorney with 30 something years, or my stepdad's at 40 something now. So there's not really any situation that can come through that office at this point that's going to be completely new. It may be new-ish, or it may have something to do with a new law or something like this, but there's a really good chance that we can go, oh man, that closing 4 years ago, remember what we did with this, and this is how we fixed it, and we can work from there. Whereas if you're trying to do it all on your own, you have your experience to go off of and maybe some YouTube videos. I don't know.
Well,
I look at it the same way. I mean, we rehab homes, right? So that's what we do. I mean, we've had up to seven
Yeah.
rehabs going at once. And, you know, the fact of the matter is we're never going to scale a business and really make any money if we're the ones swinging the hammer. I mean, that's just not, it's not the way, you know? So, you know, I'm all about, and I coach, absolutely hire the experts, and you do what you're good at doing.
Yep. Same way you hire a plumber and an electrician to do the work at your properties.
Yep.
You hire a lawyer to do your legal work.
Yep.
Or you'll pay for it. If
Also,
in all situations.
Our 10-year-old always says you can never trust the internet. I don't know where he gets that from, but he's been saying that a lot lately. Mom, you can't trust
the internet's always right. Didn't you know that?
I mean, I'm glad he's learning that now. Apparently, they're not allowed to use Wikipedia in their classroom. Maybe their teacher tells them not to trust the internet.
You know, Wikipedia. That's whoever has the time and wants to edit it can edit it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of an interesting concept, but
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah.
Well, cool. This was informative. Thank you so much, James, for coming on. Howie, do you have any other questions?
No, that was great, James.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We'll let you get back to your busy Monday.
A busy Monday. Yeah. And if you guys have any other questions, or any of your people have questions, you know, you'll have my contact info. You can always give our offices a call, and we can help you out.
Yeah. What's the best way to get in touch with you, James?
It's going to be to call the office or email, and it's going to be for the law firm. 407-644-2531 is just the office number. And that number will work for all the business. They're all in the same place. That's the only one I remember that I've memorized offhand. There's some other numbers, but that's the only one I have memorized.
So you guys, all of your businesses are all in-house at one location?
All in one location, all in-house. I have multiple different emails that all go to my phone, so you can just pick one.
You have a great assistant too, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah. She's at the lender. She's at Boyd at the hard money lender. So she handles all things lending.
Oh, that's interesting. I find her helpful with everything over there.
Yeah, she does a lot of other stuff as well. Pretty much whatever I need her to do. So
awesome.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, you guys. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. All right.
We'll see you all on the next episode. And remember, you are only one deal away. Take care.